How you doing, everyone? So today we're going to go over some of the antique Chinese and the history about them. So let's get into it. Chinese pottery goes back thousands of years, and it started, there's a few different regions where it kind of really popularized across the world, and it was mainly in the Nanking region, which is where the porcelain capital of the world is, and also in the Yixing region, which is where a lot of the teaware and other kind of ceramic bodies were made. And the Yixing region is close to a river where a lot of in mountains where a lot of clay deposits were found, and the clays they used came in different shades and colors, and that in itself took them many hundreds of years to refine and develop. And so we're going to go over a few different types of clay bodies today. The most common clay body, I would say, that you find from the Yixing region, which is where most of these kind of wares are coming from, is the shide. Shide is a purple clay, and you can see it has a very fine texture to it. You could even see little iron speckles on the clay body. So in this region, not only did they make bonsai pots by commission for Japan, they also made teaware and other sort of vessels that were very popular at during that time. Here's another shide. There you can see the kiln chop on the bottom. Very cute cloud feet. That sheen of a texture that you see on the surface is actually called terra sigillata. So that's where you basically get a very fine mix of clay, of the clay body that you're using, and you could paint it or coat the surface of your clay body, and when you fire it, you get that very beautifully grained sheen-like texture. And that's pretty common on a lot of these older pots. Now we're going to go through Kobayashi's book, so this goes over some of the shide or purple clay bodies. As you see, they kind of change color a bit, but this is the overall color, purple. And there you can actually see very similar. It's the Shikoto style with the cloud feet, cut corners, and rim that you're seeing here. Very classic form, hard to make. Requires excellent craftsmanship. But as you can see, these are some beautiful shapes and clays, and really embodies that shide. So another classification is called shude. So this is shude. It's a red clay, very characteristically red. So I don't believe this is actually an antique, but it could be, but I think it's more vintage. But this would be the classified shude. As you can see, it's quite different in color from the purple clay. Here's the purple clay. And vermilion clay, or the shude. Patina forming on that lip. Okay. Now, a clay body that I really have come to love and enjoy is a pretty unusual clay body. It's called kokude. It's a black clay. So the clay itself is actually not necessarily black. They're usually more like purple clays, similar to these. But they add in additives like iron or manganese, or they alter the firing conditions where charcoal is more readily taken up into the clay body. And then you get this beautiful black kind of clay. And here's an example of a classic kokude, or black clay. And as you can see, here you find a very similar kind of black clay. And I have a fancy for them. Some people don't really enjoy it. They go well with junipers and black pines, and even some deciduous as well. But in my opinion, this is also another kokude. Could be considered more of a purple, so more of a shide, but it looks a bit black to me. And this one actually has some kiln chops. It's a pretty old kiln that made it. And these two are actually the same kiln. Get them in the light. It was actually commissioned in around the 1920s to the early 1930s, before the war in Manchuria. It was commissioned by a shop in Tokyo, Furyu Shoten, and they were kind of an importer of Chinese ceramics. And during the time, since there was a popularity increase for bonsai, they had these commissioned. And as you can see, let me actually, so you can see the right way. So that's the kiln chop for the commission. So there we are. There's the purple clay, or the shide, and here is the kokude. Some might consider these both to be purple, but I'm classifying this as a black clay, the kokude, because it has that very characteristic dark color from probably additives like iron and manganese. But yes, these are beautiful works. Craftsmanship is of the highest level, as you can see with the feet and the size. There's a simple elegance to them. Cut corners, superb quality. Tina's formed very nicely. Yeah, these really amaze me for just the quality build they have for their size. This one's a little bit of a mystery to me. So there's no kiln chop, and it almost looks like a teacup or a sake cup. But from what I inspected on the bottom, it does not look like that hole was drilled. So it may have been made as a planter. But this is also probably made in the early 1900s, post post-1912. It's probably 1920s, early 1930s. So 1931, you have Japan invades parts of China, and really trade gets kind of stops. And all these kilns a lot of them got destroyed, or there's a lot of turmoil happening around 1931 onward. So most of these works are for sure before that time. At least these ones are. These are a bit older, so these are probably going to early 1900s, late 1800s. And as you can see, they just have a superb quality of clay, which cannot be replicated with modern clay technologies. It's just, there were limited deposits of this Yixing clay, and they devoted, some people's entire job was just the creation of clay. You can see that texture, superb. So yeah, it's quite amazing, and I hope that people realize how special these pots are, and not to talk down on Tokoname, but Tokoname is mainly a production region of Japan that did not only make bonsai pots, but teawares and vases and all sorts of ceramics, even toiletry. So it's not necessarily of the highest quality, but the Chinese, especially during those pre-World War II times, just had the high, in my opinion, one of the highest qualities of craftsmanship in terms of quality of materials and quality of builds. It's just superb. Has a class to it and an elegance that is really cannot be, that's hard for modern artists to compete with nowadays. A lot of times artists are trying to show themselves in the work, and it's a little bit too loud, and obviously the craftsmanship is shown here, but it's an unspoken loudness, so it's subtle in its beauty. Let's see if I get better lighting for you guys. And yeah, that's pretty hard to find nowadays. Everyone kind of wants to make sure everyone knows that they made the pot. And these are just simply beautiful pots. Some of them don't even have signatures. So, no signature on this one. There's no signature on this one. Yeah. And this one does have 2 kiln chops on it. Kind of hard for me to tip that one over without spilling everything. But yeah, it's not always about just the artist, but sometimes the quality of the product and that balance between showy and simplicity. If you could just find that perfect middle ground, it could really enhance a composition. So that's a brief history of these Chinese pots, and there are other clay types as well, like white clays and ude and all other sorts of different types of clay bodies, but the main ones that you're going to find are going to be shide and shude, and kokude is actually a little bit rare. I just happen to collect them. So if you're ever curious to learn more about these clays, Kobayashi's book is quite good for learning. So I highly recommend getting that, and you'll be able to just look at all the different types of clays. There's kokude, so that's like a red, intense red clay. And yeah, it's a really good book for learning. And if you want to do ceramics, it's, you know, something you could emulate to get towards. Thank you guys for tuning in and listening, and hopefully you learned a thing or two. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.